Okay, we got another guest, and he's got a lot of energy, and I'm excited to bring him on because there's very few that sort of can have sort of lived both sides of that. You know, for us in our backyard, we have lived both sides of the Jamaican experience and the North American or Canadian experience. And so the next guy we bring out, Shaquille Keith, and you know he's been a pro for a number of years. You know, Jamaican-born Yachty. He's gonna. You know, he'll tell us his story, but you know, he's gonna jump in now and join us.
Nat, are you good to stay? I know you have. Yeah, are you guys good or?
Yeah, if anybody can step out, we understand.
Can I come back in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we good. Love to have you back.
Okay, give me 5 minutes and I'll be able to come right back in.
Appreciate that. Anybody else need a break?
Nah, I can stay on for a few more. Let me hear Shaquille talk. Let me see what he's gonna talk about. Because he's talking on the court.
Yeah. Shaq, you good?
Shaq's frozen.
You're frozen. You're on pause. You gotta get that good internet, yo. Come on.
Yeah, Shaq, you know, Shaq's another guy. Me and Keith, we played against Shaq for a long time. A great competitor.
Well, great.
And the thing about him is his strength and his athleticism, and that is a direct Jamaican trait. You already know, like his body type is his skill set, athleticism. That's a direct,
That's the dumpling.
Yeah.
The dumpling follow us all the way to Canada. Just so you know that, certain things came with us. Uh-oh. Shaq, the connection, dog.
Yeah, Ash, there was times this year Shaq was talking crazy, and I'm like, yo, just don't listen to the dude. Like, don't listen. Come on, yo. Y'all serious? And absolutely doing his thing now. I love playing against him, though. A true warrior, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know Shaq. I met Shaq, you know, when he was a high school kid, and I was running a prep league up here about 10 years ago. And his demeanor back then, I was like, he has to be a Yachty. Right. You know, one of those, his game was just like, you know, and bully ball, you know, like there's something about him. I said, man, he had that sort of old school sort of 90s type of, you know, fresh
for sure
kind of game, but with some modern day skills. Like he just, like, you know, so Shaq, I'm not sure if we're going to get you on here, but you know, once you got it worked out, we'll come back to you. Dave, we do want to again continue to let people understand how we can, you know, help Jamaica and, you know, with this goal to get to the Olympics. And I think that you know, that journey for the local Jamaican athletes, you know, we know what it's like for Team Scott, but that journey for the local Jamaican athlete to get to that level, what does that look like? You know, like, you know, how does a local player get from being born in Jamaica to being, you know, on the national team?
Can you guys see me well? Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jack. Dave's just gonna, you know, enlighten us on something real quick, and then you can jump in.
I think it's easier for local players now. You hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Shaq, one minute.
I think the journey to the national team is easier for local players now because the rule change in FIBA, where you're going to have more local players have the chance to make the national team because you have to get the birth certificate from your 16. So I think it's easier for local players now to get a chance to play. But it's difficult because the competition here, like you play a competition for maybe 3 months, right? The high school, the men's league, all of those competitions last for maybe 3 months. And you know, so you want guys to be playing basketball all year round. Wow. And that's difficult.
Dave, stop for a second. I think we're trying to take this thing over here. So you're telling me that basketball lasts 3 months?
Yeah, like the high school competition is basically like 3 months.
Wow. 3 months.
And the last for playing a competition for 3 months, you have to be winning.
And you got and so there's no club season, AAU season. There's
no, none of that. None of that.
That's crazy. They got a 3-month season, Akeem, like a 3-month season, and there's nothing else.
That's tough.
Yeah. That's a dang. Sorry, okay, keep going. So you got to play in this 3-month season and try and develop, and then what else?
Yeah. To play achievement competition, you basically have to win and compete to actually the national competition. Like if you're a school that maybe you're losing games, you maybe play for 2 months and then you're out, or maybe a month and a half and then you're out. Wow. And those kids don't play basketball, play another competition for the next year coming up.
Wow,
it's difficult.
Yeah, I want to ask you, just going back to what Now was talking about, like the obsession. Do you see that obsession or that desire to really play basketball in the kids in Jamaica right now? Like, what would you rate it? Like, if you like a 1 to 10, a scale of 1 to 10.
Like maybe 8. 8. Like these kids, they want to play basketball. Like even you see these kids on the court, even though there is no competition, they'll be playing pick-up games. Like for my school, like my players, they play basketball all year round. Like they don't stop. Every afternoon they're playing their pick-up games, even though there is no competition for them. So the kids have the passion. It's just for us to put in place like these competition for them to play all year round to compete against each other.
Right.
And what the next difficult thing, like in Western Jamaica, we don't get a chance to compete against like Kingston players a lot. Like competing against each other a lot. Like so it's mostly it's mostly like in your conference. You get to compete in a conference year round, but you don't get to play against other players or other teams outside of your conference. And that's the difficult thing.
All right. Shaq. You're good? You're muted. So, all right. Well, Shaq's getting ready. Akeem and Nat, I want to ask you guys, what, Akeem, you said at the pro level, right, you started to see more pros that are Jamaican heritage, right? Like, what do you see an impact at the pro level of Jamaican culture? Like, how do you see that as you're playing, 10, 12, 13, 14 years? Is there any evidence of, from players that you played against, of like a Jamaican culture in these different countries that you've been playing?
Hell yeah! Listen, bro, I get DM now by so many Jamaican players. It is crazy because they want to know how to get on the team, right? So I just send them to a coach that I know or somebody that's in the organization, bro. And I take the time and I look at their videos and stuff like that because I want to see, how good they are, bro. We got a world full of Jamaicans that are absolutely off the chain, bro. And I first bumped into a lot of good Jamaicans when I went to Canada, when I came up there to Brampton.
Yeah.
And then after that, a lot of people was hitting me. A lot of young kids was hitting me because they knew I played for the national team. And I would look at their stuff on YouTube, and I'm like, damn, this is nice. Like we got some good players coming up. And then as I start, as I keep playing different players, different places. When I'm playing in Mexico, I'm playing against another guy who can jump out the gym and shoot the three. He said he's Jamaican, and so after a while, I would just bump into different Jamaicans every day, just period. Like they DMing me, or I'm playing against them. I think one of the big success stories that helped that as well is like Samardo Samuels.
Oh yeah.
We know how big Samardo is. So Samardo out there just killing people, and he rep Jamaica, everywhere. You know what I mean? He wear it on his sleeves, and I think more people started I guess once they see him, they're like damn, I play ball too. I'm from Jamaica, or I'm Jamaican. How do I get on? So every year it's just I see more and more talent, which I'm like, yo, this is gonna be dope. That's why I'm excited. That's why I keep saying bring the right guys in because it'll make a huge difference for the country.
Can everybody hear me? You guys hear me now?
Hey, 4G on. You got to.
I had to. Sorry, guys. I had to switch to my laptop.
Okay.
But yo, I'm gonna go and take care. I hear my kids going crazy upstairs right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing up there. Go back to daddy daycare.
Keith,
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. And I definitely gonna hit Hey, yo, Dave, you got Instagram?
Yeah, man. I'll talk to you. I'll message you.
And yo, Nate, I'm gonna definitely hit you up on the gram too. I'm gonna follow it.
Akeem, man, I'll see you, bro.
Yo, chat. Don't come on here talking crazy like you be doing on the court. I don't want to hear none of that. I'm definitely gonna be watching on the phone.
Hey, hopefully I can play with you one day, man.
Yo, same here, bro. And keep doing your thing, man. Like I was telling, bro, you're a true warrior out there, bro.
I appreciate you, brother, man.
No doubt, man. Everybody stay safe out here.
All right.
Thanks,
Nate, me and Dawkins, Ashton, what's going on, guys?
What's going on, bro?
Man, boy, the Wi-Fi, you know what I'm saying?
The Wi-Fi is good now.
Yeah.
No, I'm good, man. God is good, man. You know, we're just dealing with the pandemic just like everybody else is. You know what I mean? And just trying to maximize in the time that we have and try to get better each day. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now. In this downtime, it's giving me a lot of time to think about a lot of different things, whether it's business, stuff when it comes to myself, my body, trying to get it to the place where I want it to be. And, you know, I've been really maximizing in this this time.
Okay. Well, hey, we need to hear them come up in Jamaica stories that you've been telling me and telling us, man. You know, we gotta, you know, what was it like for you, you know, being born and actually, when did you come up from Jamaica? To tell us.
Well, actually, I was born here in Canada, and I moved back to Jamaica and went to school. My mom moved me back up to Jamaica in Manchester. My people that were from Manchester. I went to Patchetown Knowledge School when I was there at the time. And, you know, at that point, I went to go live with my grandmother. Everybody knows when you go live with your grandma, especially in the United States, probably not doing what you're supposed to be doing in life. So grandma definitely straightened me out there. And Miss Curdell, she's a very well-known teacher. She's been out there for a long time. Most of my family then work in government. My aunties, they work in the police force in some different places. And my uncle Ronnie, he was a soldier for a little while. And my mom, she moved up to Canada when she was 15. And life kind of started from there. And the experience in Jamaica is like no other. And if you know, for those people that don't know about Jamaica like that, you know, some of the hardship and things that you face, you know, you're really forced to make much of it. And you know, that's definitely was an eye-opening experience. And coming from over here in Foreign and going over to Jamaica and experiencing what it's like walking 2 hours to school there and back with your little sister in the bush. Being able to, you know, you have to run from Duffy at nighttime, man. You know what I'm saying? Those type of things, you know what I'm saying? And understanding how to get home from, you know what I mean, different landmarks, whether it's a shop or it's a certain type of tree or stuff like that. You know, those experiences are things that really mold you as a man and mold you in ways and puts life in a different perspective. And you know, I've been grateful. At the time, I hated it, but you know, I've been grateful to understand life from that aspect and see what my mom and my aunties and my relatives been able to go through it. And it definitely was a great experience for me.
All right. Tell us now about your first baskets. You know, Dave's told us there's a shortage of courts and baskets. How did you have to improvise?
Well, so I'll tell you this story now. So when I was at home, when I was out in Jamaica, and there's no basketball. It's not like over here in Canada where you have basketball nets every corner you turn. And I was there one time outside, and I was playing. I just finished eating a star apple. Just finished climbing the trees, eating a star apple. I was there. I was thinking to myself, boy. Basketball. I always loved basketball. My mom named me after Shaquille O'Neal, of course. And, you know, basketball has always been in my mind as a young man. And, you know, while I was out there, I went outside and I seen an old pail. And the old pail was just outside and it was there. And, you know, something rose up in my mind to say, you know what? I don't have access to the best of the best nets. The only net that I see in the places at my school, and my school is about an hour and a half away. So what I did was I took out the pail. I broke out the bottom of the pail. Okay, so it had some rust, so it's easy for me to punch out. And I was probably about 14 years old at the time. I punched out the bottom of the pail. The pail became my hoop. Okay, so I went down in the gully. I went by the hog pen. I seen a hog pen is pigs, for those who don't know. I went down. I see so some of the cages that you keep the hogs in, they'll have the wood there to hold them in. So I had one of those. I cut out the hole. I got myself a piece of wood, a good piece of wood, and I took it out. And outside in Jamaica, our kitchen is outside. Okay, I'm pretty sure Dave Black know about them thing then. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
I'm sure. Ask you to talk the real, so real. You know. So the kitchen is outside. That's where my grandma cooks. And I took the pail. I took the big wood, no homo, and put it on the table on the outside of the kitchen. So I nailed it to the side of the kitchen. That was my net. So now obviously you need a basketball. I didn't have no fancy basketball. So the only thing I knew, just like over here in Canada, we usually take a iron, put it in the top of one of these, use a sock, and shoot. So what I did, there's a game called Dandy Shandy. I don't know if you guys know that game, but it's basically like dodgeball, kind of. So what I did, I took a suppletion juice box. Okay, suppletion juice box. I ripped out the top of the juice box, and I found whatever I could in the yard, and I stuffed in the juice box. Because usually when you play Dandy Shandy, you take a juice box or something that you can throw that's soft and play with it. So I ripped off the top of the box, and I used to stuff like receipts, anything that I could stuff it with that I found around. I put it in there, crumpled up the ball, and I used to shoot fadeaways inside that net. And I used to go home to that net every single day and shoot that suppletion box. Okay, this is like a milk carton, baby milk carton. And that was my ball. And I used to work on my fadeaways because Kevin Durant's my favorite player. And I used to think to myself that I was KD hitting fadeaway jump shots and taking tough shots, game winners. And, you know, at that time, it was like, who would have thought? When you're in places like that, you have nothing but to be creative. And if you know about the Jamaican people, we're very, very creative. And, you know, that was my experience with that. And that's kind of how my basketball dream really started for real.
Hey, Dave, how many young kids in Jamaica do you think have stories like that?
You know? Almost everybody. I do. Almost everybody. Mine was a bucket. Mine was like a bicycle rim. The sports, they have to beat out the sport. I'll put it up. And mine was on a court that tree in my backyard. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, and it's so crazy because you know, yeah, we're dealing with COVID and COVID's impacting us all over the place. And we got gyms closing here in Canada. And you know, when you listen to the struggles of our kids here, it's not being in a gym that's air conditioning, that's covered. You know, like, you know, having to now be outside all the time and playing ball that's the worst thing that they're facing right now. And you're still talking about outside with nice rims and court, you know, rims in your driveway, and how many of these kids got personal trainers in their driveway, got Wi-Fi iPads, you know, on the side with drills and dribble up this and Zoom meetings afterwards of you know, of how they did. So even in a time of COVID, when we look at it for us here, the worst we're dealing with now is the fact that we just can't hoop inside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's crazy, you know, with outside courts. Nat, for your experience in Africa, how similar, or was it anything like what you know they experienced in Jamaica, or they're talking about experience in Jamaica for the Africans and the people where you met and the people you met in Africa?
You're on mute, Nat.
Oh, you're mute.
I think the big thing was the infrastructure, and trying to figure out again the resources of how the kids can get on court, and basketball, things like that. So one of the plans of Giants of Africa were to go to these countries when they had it was to give all the kids a ball, was to give all the kids a pair of shoes. And then what Masai wants to do is just, he wanted to build courts, you know. And I know last summer they built a court where Barack Obama was there, and they cut the ribbon to open it. And so that his project is, again, if kids have shoes, basketball, and again, if they're raising money in situations to build courts for kids to play, then the game will grow. Because just like in Africa, I think in Jamaica, even though we're a smaller country, you have the athletes, you have the players, you have the body type, the prototype of what a basketball player should be. So that from that part, we're fortunate. Now we need to try to put ourselves in situations where we can add skills, and I think that's part of the case. So if it's raising money, it's to put courts down, as what Dave was talking about earlier. A lot of schools don't have a basket. Well, let's fix that. You know, I think there has to be a situation where every school should at least have one basketball court. And I think because the soccer and track, it's not expensive. There's a lot of things that you can make up. You get one soccer ball, you can create a soccer game. You can put two shoes down and create a soccer game. You have grass, you can run. Right? With basketball, you need a ball and you need a hoop. And you see that these other sports that cost a lot of money, like football and hockey, that's why they're not in these type of countries. Right. So basketball is another resource that we're actually really good at. And so I think in Africa, that was the goal.
Yeah.
And I think I see the same thing that needs to be done in Jamaica. But it just takes people coming together and trying to figure out how to get that done.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, I gotta give it to Rick Turner. And it's, you know, like, you know, sometimes people will come into another country and, you know, he holds obviously a very high position as the head coach, you know, and it's not often that they embrace what needs to happen at the grassroots level. You know, he's coming from outside. And I think there is an opportunity with this 24-hour live stream, for example, which was his vision. We had a meeting and he came to us and like, hey, you know, you remember back in the day they used to have these, you know, these telethons. He goes, let's do that to launch. And you know, and we're looking at each other like, telethon, you know. But when you think about it, like, you know, the idea was the same thing. You know, we just got to bring some energy and some attention to what it is that, you know, the goal is and what's happening. And I think it's accomplished that. And as far as what we're talking about here, we needed infrastructure. It's the same thing. That, man, let's get that first rim up. Let's just pick a school and get that first rim up. You know, let's just, you know, pick a school and get that first court, you know, fixed up, and just do our part together. And that's, you know, Dave, that's how about that as a starting point?
That would be great, because for us in the Western region, like, that is the one thing we lack, like a court. There's no like area where the kids can go and compete all year round. So getting a court in Western Jamaica with cover will be really good, because when it rains, there's no basketball. And this time of the year, like, it rains almost every day. So there's no basketball going on at this time of the year when you come out it. So having a cover on a court would be great for Western basketball overall.
Wow, just that alone. You know, I gotta tell you that, you know, one of the things that I mean, I've been writing blogs and I've been writing people's, you know, stories and their journeys on, you know, I started doing that maybe about 5 years ago. And while I was doing it, I started, you know, learning about, you know, Canadian basketball history. And you guys tell me if you think that I'm on point with this. But when you look at the Jane and Finch pipeline over the years, that's like immigrant central. You know, Jane and Finch and Falstaff, all the way down to Jane and Glore. You know, where that influx of Jamaican immigrants and other immigrants came into. We didn't have Canada basketball or Ontario basketball structuring stuff for us. We really just had access to community centers and gyms. So all that pent up energy and athleticism we had, like, guess what we were? We're in the gyms, you know, and we're learning to play basketball. But then the evidence of that, of how we were able to grow just by having access to infrastructure, is when you look at all, before the collapse of high school basketball, when you look at all the powerhouses that fed from that Jane and Finch pipeline, Runnymede, Eastern Commerce, George Harvey, Bathurst, Jeffries, anywhere you had that, you had high school program that fed from that Jane pipeline, you had some of those dominant teams and athletes in the city. And then you add even the birth of grassroots Canada, and guess what? It was in Jane and Finch and Jungle. And it's all, guys from, Jamaican immigrants, kids and other immigrant kids. And this is without bigger structure. This was just access to a gym on a consistent basis and courts, so what do you think about that? That's just my thoughts, and just in terms of, some of the things that I should have learned from my writing, that Jane and Finch pipeline and just, that talent pool.
Yeah, I feel like that's all the at-risk neighborhoods, to be honest. I mean, I think we think about, the Jane and Finch, Jane Strip. I mean, I could think of a bunch of guys coming out of Rexdale, Lawrence Heights area, Malvern. So I think that as long as there was at-risk neighborhoods, because the immigrants and trying to figure out life and how they were going to get a job, this is where they started. Until what you're seeing now again are these same people that were growing up in these at-risk neighborhoods, figuring out how to get a job in better financial situations, to where they're branching out and getting houses in Brampton, right, getting houses in Oakville and Milton, and all of a sudden their sons and daughters now are the same ones as that were in these at-risk neighborhoods that we talked about. Right. Because now you can't find the inner city kids playing as much because they moved out. So it's just interesting. I mean, if you look at all the NBA players that we have here in Toronto, Canada, Mississauga, Brampton, right. East, Ajax. Which one of them are from Jungle, Jane and Finch, downtown Regent Park?
Oh. But that's second generation, like you're saying, that's the generation that left those inner city pockets,
yes,
into those areas, and took what they learned there, instilled that into their children.
Yeah.
So, and I think that would be the same with if you look at the history of New York and other places, and any inner city pockets where you had the type of talent pool, raw talent that comes through, like places like Jamaica. So I think when we talk about really being able to help Jamaica, I mean, what does that really say about just something as basic as infrastructure, where kids can just can have access to a court and a ball and some rims? It says a lot.
Right.
Like, I won't even. You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even just to go off of what Nate was saying, I mean, I even know for myself, like, Falstaff, that's kind of where I grew as a basketball player. And that was actually one of the first trainers to ever coach me, especially at that young age. I was training with him and Denham Brown at the time. And, I learned so much. I learned so much at that age, and being in that, like, I feel like Falstaff is like the Mamba Academy of, like,
Yeah.
All the killers in the game, if you haven't gone through Falstaff, then it's like, you know what I mean? What you really doing with yourself? You know what I'm saying? Right. I was living in Brampton at the time, and I was taking those hour-and-a-half trips just to come to workouts to train with Nat and Denham. Like, you know what I'm saying? And Ro, a really good friend of mine as well, and he seen me at a really young age. And, I never forget, I walked to the front of Falstaff, and he's like, Shaq! I'm like, well, what's good, Ro? How are you, man? And he's like, listen, I want you to train with Denham Brown. He said it just like that to me. You know what I mean? And that's how I kind of got introduced to the Falstaff and the basketball community there. And even with Nate, I've seen him build himself to who he is from that spot. You feel me? And there's so much more other guys, and even some of the local players that are not even spoken about, guys that could have easily been NBA players that could have made it. I've been able, even for me, I could say I've been able to learn so much from so much different people. And that Jamaican culture and that grittiness, and in Toronto, if you don't know, for those that are watching, like we're based off Jamaicans, Afro, like African Jamaican.
Right.
That's kind of like the real culture here. You know what I mean? And it's like just being able to be with your people and being able to grow in an environment like that is something that's life changing. I know for me, like it gave me purpose at the time. It gave me purpose, and I go back to those moments when I'm in there with Fran Man, and I'm in there with Big Shanes, and I'm in there with the Cheeses, and we can go on. And you guys are some of the some of the guys here that have been able to do some really good things for the community, and there's so many more people that I can name. But I feel like it's very important to have that type of community, especially at a young age, because kids never forget those things, and it's really important.
Hey, Dave, do you guys in Jamaica have something like a community center that's like a hub? Because one of the things that we're talking about here is like a place like Falstaff, like it's just a community hub that has a gym and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have a lot of community centers, but basically it's almost back to the same thing, like a football field and a track and stuff like that. No court.
Oh no. Okay, so you got no court. Well, you know what, Shaq is so good, Nate.
I just want to add, how much would it cost to build a court in Jamaica, like an outdoor court?
See, actually, we did the math, right, Dave?
Yeah. What was the price? What was the price again, Wayne? I think we did some research on it. I'm gonna find.
Yeah, we did it, and just resurfacing the court itself, would probably be anywhere on about 10 G's to resurface the court.
That's 10 G's US.
Yeah, US. So all of this is US. So we had a budget. We were trying to raise about 75,000, but that was 75,000 because we wanted to build a cover and with some bleachers, resurface and turn it into a double court instead of a single court. So you could have like a tournament. So the budget for what we were trying to raise was 75,000, and that was 75,000 would have got us a double court, bleachers, a cover, and lights. So that was the plan. That Dave, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's what's.
Yeah. So which I see the wheels turning. That was like me. I looked at that and I'm like, man, I'm not bragging, but like that's the kind of money that I see wasted daily. And when me and Dave was talking about it, I was like 10 G's. I mean, I see guys drop 10 G's in a day, just doing stupidness. So so I was like, we could at least resurface the court. And we got a video where we'll probably circulate it. Like we took a video and stuff of Dave's kids, and they're talking about the court and their experience. I'm gonna see if next time I can share it. But his kids actually put together a video and where they actually show you their court and they talk about what their life would be like if we could throw some lights up and fix their court. It was great.
That's ideal. I think all those things are great. I'm gonna run. I really appreciate you guys having me on, speak about this and building the culture in Jamaica.
Absolutely.
Again, let's connect about the virtual coaches clinic, really helping those coaches develop so they can help the youth. And I look forward to doing many more.
Okay.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
it. Best of luck with everything else you're doing, man. Okay. We still got a couple more guests that are going to be coming in, or at least one more for sure. A couple more guests, but I
wanted Shaq to kind of give me the difference. Okay, you're born here, moved back to Yad, then you came back here.
Yeah.
How old were you when you came back here for good?
I was about, I would say 14. Yeah.
So what was the biggest difference? Now here you came, you're walking towards the school, you're shooting on pill. And then you come back here at 14, just starting high school. What was that shock for you, or what was the big difference?
I was definitely a lot more grateful. Let's say that. You know what I'm saying? And being able to, I mean, the difference is like, it's the resources, man. You know what I'm saying? And I won't lie to you. The education system, when you look at it, especially in Jamaica, there are very intelligent people.
Yeah.
And the education system is definitely, in some sense, especially at that age, is much higher. You know what I mean? But it's not. It's like when I came back home, my penmanship was like off the charts because when I went to school out here in Patrick Town, you know what I mean, penmanship was is a real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And learn how to write and be more creative with a lot of different things and just the knowledge and the things that kids were learning in grade 6, grade 7. Like I knew that long time. You know what I'm saying? And so it was a change. And I think the experience would be a lot different if I went from there to here versus from here to there.
Right.
Because I wouldn't understand the big difference with having beautiful paved roads everywhere.
Yeah.
And having to take public transit to get to the recreation centers that are probably a couple lights a street apart versus having to drive or walk 2 hours every day just to go hoop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you look at it from that aspect, it makes you really grateful and understand that it's like, I was like, wow, the things that they face in Jamaica is much different. And for the fact that they're able to build and become such these great teams with the resources that they have, I only can imagine what it's going to be like when they have all the things that they need. You know what I mean? And it would definitely an eye opener. And it's something that I would never change because it also built me to be who I am because of the fact of understanding what it's like to be a warrior. You know what I mean? That mentality carried over into my life and I apply it. And even especially when I'm speaking to the younger generation, I let them understand that they should be grateful for what they have and the resources because a lot of people are not waking up. Like, look at the pandemic.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going crazy right now.
Trust
You know
me.
what I mean? And imagine this being your actual life where you don't have a resource, you don't have these cool nets and cool places and infrastructures to go to just to enjoy yourself in the way that you want. So that mental toughness side of it, it's a really big deal. And I would definitely can say that it made me tougher as an individual and it definitely made me look at life much differently.
So if you can give me three characteristics that you developed from living with your granny in Jamaica or growing up in a Jamaican house of that, now you took from your life, using your life and that translate onto the basketball court because you're aggressive, you know what I mean? You're aggressive, what are some characteristics that you think, being a Jamaican and being raised in that Jamaican household translate over to the game of basketball?
Integrity would probably be the first one I would say.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing, being true to oneself is a big thing. And it's a part of the Jamaican culture. A lot of people will call it ignorance.
Yes.
It's not ignorance. It's understanding who you are as a person and what you stand for. And Jamaica is very well known. When you have that saying, one love, one heart, you know what they will say in the commercials, and that's really what it is. It's one love, one heart with one heartbeat. And there's the reason why people, when they come to Jamaica, they love it so much is because the community, the camaraderie, the people, the love that they receive, you know what I mean? That stuff is very important for the culture. You know what I mean? And we're very strong-minded people where we know there is no excuses. We learn to work through the storm. And, that mentality is what, people know me for the saying bully season. And, you know what I mean? That mentality is being able to tap into a different demeanor, a different focus. It's kind of like a Mamba mentality type of deal. You know what I mean? And that comes from that. So integrity is very important. Relationships is another one I learned. My grandma, being one of the, biggest teachers in her like where she was, she was a mother and a grandmother to everybody.
Absolutely.